Study Uganda. Okay, I log in and sign up API using Python Flask, the framework for Python. So I will just open my Visual Studio Code. Yeah, I'll be showing you how to make the API and make it go live on any live platforms and so much more. So I'll come and I start a new file. I will select my language to be Python. Yeah, I will save my file. If you save, it will be our api.py. So on the part of the code writing, you will have to browse it on GitHub. I'll just paste and copy the code here. I give it okay. Yeah, this code is currently available on our GitHub platform, the Study Uganda GitHub. So what I've done, I've said from Flask import Flask requests JSON, and I've imported SQL Alchemy, I've imported Marshmallow, I've imported JSON. Yeah, the code is commented. You initialize an app. Flask initializing app is equal to app equals Flask name base directory. It's where the app will be connecting to the OS path, that like if you have Windows, Linux, if it's a web app. So config the SQL Academy. These ones just copy them and paste them the way they are. The DB is SQL Academy app and Marshmallow app is there. Marshmallow helps in querying our language and everything. So I'm going to make a model, a user model. Who will be the user? Then you see class user, it's a DB model. Then I've made a table name called user. Our ID is the primary field. ID is column, something like primary key true. Yeah, DB integer. Username, I've made it a string. Then I've said unique equals true. Like I've also made our user to have an email. Let me also say unique equals true, such that only one email can sign up. Unique equals true. Yeah. District, I'm making sure our users, their districts are recorded. The phone, it's a DB column string. Password, the password is also got from the user. So continuing, I've got my I've made a function def init. Those who know init self, I've made self with parameters of username, email, district, phone, and password. Self.username is username, self.password, self.parameter is a parameter. So I've made a schema. This will be the way I will be using my Marshmallow. Is the one to make schema. So a class user schema is a Marshmallow field with a schema. Class method, the fields I'm getting ID, username, email, district, phone, and password. So I'm initializing the schema here. Username equals username schema. I've made strict equals true. It's a Marshmallow, like meaning one user, there is only one user. Then user schema many equals true. I mean, this is where on the class, the first one is a class of one user, the second one is a class of many users. So I've made the database. I've finished. Now I'm making the uploads where we will access our information. I've made an upload called get all users. So it's at upload users. Method we are using get. Def, the function is get all users. All users are equal to user query all. Now we are making our database to query all. The result is a schema dump of all users. Return JSON file result data. So if I could open Postman, for those who know Postman, I could come here. Yeah, if you are a Windows user, you can just click Postman. If you are a Linux user, installing Postman is easier. So me, I will just say Postman. So as Postman open. Okay, for those who don't know Postman, I could say sticky notes. Expert. For those who don't know Postman is like this. Postman is a REST API testing client. Yeah, it's opening. Let me first REST API testing client. API testing client. Yeah, it's like a client for testing APIs. So as Postman opens, I'm going to test this upload I made. This one upload to user email, something like that. But before I go very further, I will first have to open a terminal in this Visual Studio Code, I'm going to use a virtual environment. Usually a virtual environment help to deploy code and everything. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to say python -m. I make a virtual environment venv by using the command venv. So those who have heard of it, my computer is saying I use Python 3. If you are a Windows user, Python is the module that you can use. They are saying there is no module called venv, so you write it as venv. Yeah, it's initializing. That you see it has come here, the virtual environment. Visual Studio Code usually says something like that. The venv is activated. So what I could do, so the virtual environment is activated. You see it has files bin. If you are a window, you have source bin activate. So how to activate? I will just click source. What is my venv? Yes, then bin activate. I activate my virtual environment. Here you see, if you activate it, a venv icon goes here. So I could continue. Yeah, I've cleared the console. So in my virtual environment there is no Flask, though I'm using Flask. There is no Flask Alchemy, there is no Marshmallow. So what I have to do is to install those on my virtual environment. So what I could do, I could say pip install. I've made the requirement text, a rec text on the form, you will find it. But then you say pip install Flask. We see how the command will go. Yeah. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to install the packages needed. I will say pip install Flask. I'm installing them on the virtual environment because you see the venv here. It means that they are installing on the virtual environment, not on the computer. If you have someone's computer and you don't want them to have this, you just put the virtual environment and then you put it there. So let me first minimize this one. So Flask is installed. If you install, you see the underline goes away. So I'm going now to install pip this SQL Alchemy. Pip install capital letters SQL Alchemy. I press enter. Then what's remaining is Marshmallow. So as this installs, I will show you a brief highlight of the Postman. This is Postman. It has opened. You have to make a workspace. Those who don't have workspace, I'm going to use this workspace called localhost. So for those who don't have workspaces, if you are using Ubuntu or Linux, you could say sudo snap to install Postman. Sudo snap install Postman. Yeah, something like that. So this is how my Postman will open. So I'll just make a new request here. You come here, you see this icon, you click it plus. So I go back to my Visual Studio. It has said SQL Alchemy is installed. Then pip install. I'm going to use Marshmallow version 2.10 because the older one doesn't support strict. So I'm going to say pip install Flask Marshmallow. It should be pip install Flask SQL. Sorry about that. This SQL Alchemy isn't a Flask package. You have to make sure it's a Flask package. So it's pip install Flask SQL Alchemy. Then you also install pip Flask. Yeah, it is successfully installed. Then you could also say pip install Flask Marshmallow. I'm writing it badly. Marshmallow. Let me write it like that maybe. Yeah, I could pause. Okay. Yeah, no pausing the recording. We have successfully, you see that the other things are not there, the other underlines which showed like it's not there. You could also pip install JSON. I'm not sure if JSON is a package, but it's usually helpful to check and install because every import is installed. So they are saying there's no version matching, you leave it. If you get an error, you'll find a way to install the JSON on the computer. Cut, there we go. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to run my app. Running an app, you say Python, which is our app API. They said we use Python 3 as the command, Python API.py. I could make these things kinda big so that you can see them, something like that. Okay, then I reduce this side smaller. So how I run my Python, I use Python 3. This thing has gone away. yeah, let it stop like there. So python 3 api.py, you run, it's saying strict is not allowed. So that's why I said marshmallow we installed, pip install flask marshmallow. I could add there the double equals, then I put 2.10 as the version, then I think to remove the other version, then I put there the version which we require. So they are saying no matching distribution for marshmallow, that one, something like that, and that one, and that one. So a bit, let me check the, yeah, marshmallow package. I said we use pip marshmallow point, then we also add there another 0.0. Yeah, that was the error. If we are lucky, it will install, and to remove the other one which says usually get a type init error before doing that. So it's still bringing an error. So let me remove the Flask. It seems it doesn't have the Flask package, so I'm going to say pip install marshmallow. Let me just paste Ctrl Shift V for those who lose their 2.10, and we see what will happen. Yeah, I could use pip 3 install, and they are saying, let me see if they will say no distribute. So it has successfully installed marshmallow. It has removed the 3.1, and we have gone to 2.10. So we could continue, and then I go back and I run my app, and I say python 3 api.py. It's running. We are saying debug mode off on this developmental server. So what you could do, you could come here and press Ctrl Shift copy your thing. You go to Postman to test our, you press it there. So it's here, this is our base URL. Then we are going to test the upload we made. We made an upload, said here, if we went down, I said we initialized an upload. We said get all users. We made an upload saying at users, this is users. So if someone goes to the URL users, he will be able to find all the users of our app. So I could come and press here v localhost and this one. So I send the get request. It will bring something like a JSON response. If you are seeing this one, it means there is no user. Let me make them big. It is bringing an empty list. If there are users, we would have a list. So what you do, you save this one. So my collection, I'm going to call it localhost. I'm going to call a collection called localhost. Then I save this request name as users. So we continue. So if you want to get a single user, you post to the request and make sure the email is in the parameter. So you make a get request. So for single user, we could come here and then also add a request. How we could copy our thing here, Control copy. So the Control A, Control copy, Control V. Then we add an email. Because we are saying we post using the email, I could add an email, maybe test1 at gmail.com. If he's there, we shall get a request. If he's not there, they are saying no URL found because there is no user there on that one. We could also save this one. We never know, we are going to use it in future. Let me first remove this one. We don't have to disturb our code. Control copy, such that by the time we finish we will have a lot of requests. Control v.com. So this is our user. For one user, we could also save it. One user. On continuation, we are going to test. So the upload one user is def get user. The parameter is email. We are getting it from the URL. So we get our user database, we query user.get here, and we return our JSON file user. Our return will be JSON file user. So if we are updating a user, the same thing, we use the email and we get our user product and everything. Now let me just go to the important one, login. This code will be available on GitHub for those who want to follow. So I've made an upload code login API v2 as login. This will be my upload. I'm going to use the method post. Post means we are adding new data. So if I could, I've made a function called def login. Our function is called def login, and it's saying email equals request.json email. So it means in our request we have to put their email. password equals request.json password exist. Now I've made something called a variable called exist. We are querying that it brings a row of if those who know that database SQL, we are querying it the user email, we are filtering email equals email.first. So we are filtering the request email and the email row, the email column by the first. So we are saying if exist is not none, so it means if exist is not empty, we make a variable called exist2. So I could make this one exist2. Now we are querying the password, and we are saying if password is not none, we are saying username something, we are printing username, and I made username a list because a row can be converted into a list like that. It is JSON-fied. We return JSON dumps of the username. So if the password is not there, we return unsuccessful, wrong password, or if the username is there, we can. So if the email is wrong, we return wrong email. Yeah. We shall pass through the code on GitHub. I'm just giving brief highlights. So at upload v2, I could also add there something such that it looks like the other one. API v2 sign up method is also post. We are posting data. Post is usually used when you want to give data. Username is equal to request. We are making an email variable. We are using the request and getting the email. Password district JSON. This is like querying a dictionary and getting values. So our exists at the same. We are saying if the email exists, if exists is not none, if the email is there, we are returning a JSON thing saying user email is already taken. Else we get a new user, which is a variable. It's a user data field with username, email, password. We are making db session. We are adding the user. db session.commit. We are returning JSON. Finally, I run the server. This is a loop that continuously checks if name equals main app.run, because now we are continuously checking. So this is the brief highlight of the code. Now I'm going to run it and you see. So on running my code here, I will close the run. Those who want to know, URLs must start with a leading slash something. We have got an error on sign up. The one I think it's sign up at username.signup. There is sign up. Create a user URLs should start with a backslash. So we save and we run. I'm going to use the place address. Let me first close all consoles. There is this one here. I could place Ctrl C. I stop it. Sorry about this. So I could clear it, then I start and you see. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to say Python 3. Those who use Windows, you say Python only. Linux users are the one who say Python 3 or Python 2 or Python 1. So they are saying our app is running on this server. You come here and copy. I'm sorry about that. I've accidentally killed Control Shift C. It's not Control C. If Control C is to quit the server, so I repeat my code, Python run.py. Then I go to Postman to test. So if I go to Postman, here we are testing. I'm going to first go to the app root. I'm going to make post. Let me add a new app root. We go to add. Let me don't save all these ones. We go to add. Then on adding, we add an app root, but we are going to post it. Then we come, this is our URL for our developmental server which is running. We go to the app root we want to post. First we want to make a new user. So if I go into my code, there is something, create a user here. It's given by the app root, this one. So I will come and I copy this one. Then I go back to the Postman. Then I paste it there. But you remove this one. So this will be our URL for making. If it's on a server, we shall see the way we shall do it. So I go into my body. I want to post information. Which type of information? I want to post raw information. Raw information, it's JSON. So I will come here. I'm going to post JSON data. I'm going to make a user. So if I could go back into my code here, we are going to see what is needed in a user. Here we are saying to make a user, create a user. We need email, district, phone, password, and email, district, phone, and password. Let me just copy them and I paste them somewhere on sticky notes. Control A, Control V. Sorry, Control A, Control V. It has refused. but with no username, email, district and password. Let's go here. So if making that, we shall start. JSON is in curly brackets. We place an enter. We say email. We need a user code email. I will just say, what email would I use? test1@gmail.com. we need a username. Our username will be JSON. Usually after every field you put there a comma. Our username will be test1. Then we shall say password, something like password. Our password will be password. Yeah, it will be test1 also. Maybe let's say test1 for the info, for the sake. Then here we forgot a comma for every JSON parameter. Then what's remaining? District. I usually like the people of Kabale district. I won't put there Kabale. Then what's remaining? I think it's that phone. Yes, phone. They said we need a phone. You could put +256. You could put 0700. But if this one is intended for international, but now let me use 0700 643612. So afterwards I will send my request. I want you to see the response after sending. Here it's a response. There is something like no response initially. Yeah, I could reduce something like that. So on sending, I will click here to send the request. So on sending the request, they say successful user account formed. This is where we say the return here. If exist is not none. DB session commit return JSON file successful user account formed. So it means the user account is formed. We could also test sending it again to see if someone could play with our system and send it again and see what they can hear. So on sending it again, they say unsuccessful, username is already taken. Those are the parameters. We shall see them in the code on GitHub. We shall follow Study Uganda GitHub. So I finish on that. So I'm going to test now. We have tested. I could save this as this postman thing will be available for all of you. I could test it as this one. Request name, we have made sign up. Our collection, we can say we can make a new collection code, login. Yeah, something like that. These ones we shall get used to them as we use postman often. So I'm going to make another one called login. Another request code login. Let me first save it as login. So it's which type of method are we using? Usually check from the code you did. If you made a request code post, so I go to uproot login. This is our uproot code login. This one. So we said it's at v2 something like this, API 2. We copy it. We come to our here. We paste it. But where is our server running? Our server is running on 100 HTTP. We copy it. So we join the variables. I think by the time you reach programming here, you know how to join URLs. Control Z. Sorry about that. I think I also accidentally closed the server again by pressing Control C. You don't press Control C in the terminal. Press Control Shift C, or you right click and copy. So Control V. Yeah, that is it. So which method are we using? We are using a method called post. Which body are we using? We are using arrow body, and then we are saying JSON. We are using JSON. We are not sending JavaScript. So login, we need an email and password. Email, password. What will be our email? Our email will be test1@gmail.com. What will be our password? I think we made password or test1. I don't remember. Test1. Let's test with. If we find it's wrong, we shall get the value test1. So we could send and see. So on sending the request, you see message successful data test1. This is an error because the message we said at upload login we are getting an email equals request.json. Our password equals password we are getting from the JSON, the ones we send. Then we are saying if exists we return message successful something like that. This is normal code, you'll be able to read it and understand. If you don't, you leave a comment down on the video and I will reply to you within a day or two. Yeah, this is that. This is so if someone could test with the wrong email, what could happen? Let me use like test4 and we see. If you put test4, they say unsuccessful, wrong email. So if I could test with the wrong password, I see something like test1, test12 as the password. I see what will happen. They are saying unsuccessful, wrong password. So this is the best authentication method. So now that you have done your code, how do you deploy the code? You are sure now it has worked. You have tested with Postman. You come here, press Ctrl C, you kill the server, then you open. Now you clear. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to make a requirement text of the packages of Python I've used. So that's why I will say pip phrase. Those who know the pip phrase. Then this one, the minus sign, then with the greater or equals, I think it's greater or equals. Then you write requirements dot txt or requirement.txt or rep.text. You press enter. It will quickly automatically make for your requirement text with all that we are saying STR, Academy, Marshmallow version. So I'm going to run this thing on pythonanywhere.com. Yeah, I'll make a part 2 as I host this one on pythonanywhere.com. Yeah, I can finish from here, guys. Thanks for, if you have a question, please write it on the YouTube thing, and you could inbox me, or you could get me on any social media platform, or you could go to www.studyuganda.com and we shall get back to you. Thanks, guys.